It happened again last night. Actually, just a few moments ago now. I woke up with my hands trembling on the mattress beside me, my body curled up against the feeling of dread and fear carried in my stomach. Because it's a dream, the details are always a little different. Last night, I was digging through layers, trying to get to the bottom of a pond, mucky, scummy layers, digging and digging, trying to get to something I knew I needed to reach, I had to get to, but I also knew somehow in the dream that there was a layer of ice still underneath everything that I was trying to excavate between me and what I needed to get to. The details are always a little bit different, but the feeling is always the same. There is something impossible that I need to do. My life and a lot of other people's life and well-being depends on it, and I have to do it. The fear drives me because I know that the consequences will be too great if I fail, if I do not get to it. Sometimes it's very specific to what happened. For years, I allowed myself to be convinced that I had to raise an impossible amount of money to make a film about the deeper truth of what is inside of us. And essential to the project and to the integrity of the project was that I had to pay everyone back with interest on time, that I had to fulfill these impossible promises that I had made to people I loved and cared about based on my misguided trust in someone else. I had to do it. It's always a different version of the same story. I have to raise this money. I have to pay these people back. I have to fulfill the promises that I made. For years, I lived with that fear in my body, being driven by it, having been convinced that this was somehow the way to get to the truth, that if I believed deeply enough in something, it could happen, it would inevitably happen because of the depth and the power of the belief and the conviction. Of course, that led to a different kind of conviction. It led to a conviction for a crime. It led to 4 years in federal prison. This was all 20 years ago, nearly 20 years ago now, when this whole thing blew up. But still, the point of this dream, the point of this video is that the energy, the ways I trained my body, the fear I carried, how it wore tracks in my nervous system, how it is still carried in the cells, in the bones of my body, of my emotional body. I don't know physiologically how these things work, but I do know that the dream happens to me probably once a week, a few times a month. It keeps coming back after 20 years. I have processed this so much. I have grieved, I have felt the shame, the foolishness, the corruption of what I did, and still that energy lives inside me in the same ways, and it comes up. Yesterday, I felt a depression all day long. I've been feeling pretty good lately, but I felt this deep depression. I could not move. I had no energy to do anything. And I told my wife, she was sympathetic and gave me a foot massage and was just there with me. But I told her, I don't know what this is, but it's just something coming out. And then this frantic, have to do this, have to get to the bottom of this. And I hit, once again, this layer of ice. I don't know how this works for anyone else. But I've known a lot of people in my life. I've talked deeply with a lot of people in my life. And of course, when we experience a trauma, all of our traumas are different. This wasn't the only trauma in my life, but this is the one where the dream keeps coming back the same way. All of our traumas are different. Whatever happened to us, whatever terrified us, whether it was a cataclysmic, terrifying event, or whether it was a slow, dull ache of living in a family where this kind of abuse happened, or this kind of neglect happened, or this kind of self-hatred happened. Whatever it is, these memories, these experiences, these traumas seem to be etched into our bodies, into our system. I've never read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, but there's something about it, just the title, that always rings true for me. My body is holding this experience. It's not a one-off. It's not something I can just pull a little thread and then it will unravel. For me, it's like a glacier. It's like a glacier that even if it were to come out in the hottest of sunlight and warmth, it would take, and it does take, a lot of time for that impacted ice that's been buried beneath the surface for so long, for it to melt. It happens slowly. When I woke up this morning, my hands shaking, I just lay with that fear, just lay in the bed, letting the feeling, it was primarily in my hands and in my gut today, letting it be there, letting it come out, letting, however it works, a few drops of that glacier, of that iceberg melt, soften. I could feel how this tremor that's always there in my hands has something to do with this. Again, I don't know how it works physiologically, but I could feel the intensity of it in my hands. I could feel that it was a fear that was there. Time after time, this dream comes up, and it's always as fresh as the moment it happened. It's, even though, can't remember now, 18, 20 years have passed, it's always this potent. The urgency, the fear, the need to do this. I have to do this or I will fail virtually everyone in my life that I care about. Terrible things will happen to people. I have to do this. Time after time, this fear comes up and slowly, slowly, slowly melts away. I'm not here to speak for anyone else, but I suspect that on some level, this is fundamental to the human experience. In a culture where we all experience trauma, where we all experience impossible circumstances, without the resource or the understanding to process them in the moment, these traumas, these icebergs, these glaciers get buried within us. And of course, it sucks. It's hard. Of course, we try to find solutions. We try to find ways out. We try to build a life over the top of this energy. We try to feel better. We try to move on. And we're told and countless ways that there's something, anything that can make us feel better. This therapy, this drug, this accomplishment, any way that we can get beyond, get out of, leave behind this weight that we carry. There's what I experience to be an illusion, a myth, that we can just let it go, that a decision can be made in our mind to just drop this, to drop it, to take out the knife and cut the rope on the sandbag and to let it fall away, to lighten our being, to lighten our life, to let it go. This is not at all my experience, and I have tried many, many things. I have not tried drugs. I have not tried alcohol. That has not been my go-to way of trying to get out of these feelings. But I have tried to have an awakening where I would see everything differently, and suddenly this iceberg would not just melt, it would dissolve. It wouldn't even exist anymore. I have tried all kinds of things, and the only thing that I have ever found to work for myself, and I'll just let you decide whether this resonates with you. The only thing that I have ever felt that works is when this iceberg, this glacier, reveals some surface of itself. To let the light, to let the warmth, to let my acceptance sit with it, be with it, to let it dissolve, to let it melt, to let it give way as much as it's ready to give way on this moment, on this day. Everything else feels like a trick of the mind. It doesn't matter what I try to tell myself. It doesn't matter if how many times somebody tells me, you paid your dues, you went to prison, you've apologized to people, you've taken responsibility for what you did. Those things matter, but they don't matter. They don't melt the iceberg. That weight that we carry, whatever it is, will only be released in its own time and in its own way. It will only let go when it is allowed to surface and is accepted for what it is. I can build a life on top of the glacier. I can scrape together a little topsoil and plant a garden for my life, but the glacier is still there, and in the dreams it comes up. For me, this is life. This is healing. This is the challenge and the opportunity of this incarnation, to accept what is there, to allow it to heal, to allow it to come forth, to allow it to fall away in its own time and its own pace. I don't know how this will resonate for you, or if it will resonate for you. But the invitation that I'm making is to give yourself the break of allowing that glacier, that trauma, that life experience to be whatever it is. Don't try to force it out. How can we force a glacier to the surface? It's bigger than what we are. It's bigger than what we know how to move. But we can be with it. We can be humbled by it. And we can live a life of which a substantial part, not all of it, but a substantial part, is allowing that glacier to come forth and to melt and to let go in its own time. To me, what this brings is more and more space. No, the glacier doesn't go away in a heartbeat, but it does dissolve. It does melt. There is more warmth, more fluidity, more freedom in my life. I'd be curious to hear your stories about this, how this works in your own life. Thank you for listening. This is still raw for me this morning. I don't know how it comes out, but I knew as soon as I got up from my bed even before I got up from my bed, that I wanted to share this with you this morning. Thank you for coming. Thank you for visiting. I wish you all the best with whatever is coming up forth with you, and I wish you all the patience and all the tenderness for whatever time it needs and you need. Thank you for watching.